All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to your state capitol. This is a place where all Kentuckians belong. 4 years ago, I was proud to be the first governor in Kentucky's history to participate in a statewide fairness rally, and I have continued to support that rally over the last 4 years. And in 2021, I was proud to proclaim June as Pride Month in Kentucky, also for the first time in the history of our Commonwealth. Kentucky cannot possibly reach its full potential unless all of our citizens are free from discrimination, unless all people feel welcome in our spaces, free from unjust barriers, and in the very least, free from practices that are viewed as harmful and unethical by our medical community. I am here in this role because I made a pledge to fight for every single Kentucky citizen. And I promised I would always step up and do what's right. When a statue in this same location stood as a symbol of hate to so many Kentuckians, we made the decision to have it removed so that everyone who walks in their state capitol could feel welcome. To ensure that our government workforce was free from the wrong attitudes of the past, I signed an executive order mirroring the Crown Act, prohibiting discrimination in the workplace because of hairstyles historically associated with race. When Kentuckians had been denied access to medical treatment that so many badly needed, I signed an executive order allowing access to medical cannabis. What that means is I have refused to wait when others won't do what's right. Kentucky law recognizes that children are the Commonwealth's greatest natural resource and that individuals and their families are the most critical component to a strong society. That means all children, every single one, must be treated as a precious resource. My faith teaches me that all children are children of God, and where practices are endangering and even harming those children, we must act. The practice of so-called conversion therapy hurts our children, and it's something that I've spoken out against time and time again. It has no basis in medicine. It has no basis in science. The American Medical Association, the American College of Physicians, and the American Psychiatric Association all agree that this is a dangerous practice, that it can cause significant long-term harm to our youth. This harm includes increased anxiety and depression, and it leads to lower self-esteem, and it can result in suicidal behavior. The nonprofit suicide prevention organization, the Trevor Project's 2023 survey showed that youth who were subjected to conversion therapy reported more than twice the rate of suicide, twice the rate of attempts to take their lives. Let that sink in. A child that's subjected to this horrific practice is twice as likely to try to take their own life. The leading medical and mental health organizations in the United States further oppose the practice. The American Psychological Association and the American Counseling Association have called the practice unethical. The Kentucky Psychological Association, the National Association of Social Workers Kentucky, the Kentucky Mental Health Coalition, and the Fairness Campaign have each voiced opposition to this dangerous practice. We cannot sit back and do nothing while our kids are hurting that badly, while we are losing some of our kids that could still be walking this earth. At least 23 states and the District of Columbia have taken action to restrict the use of conversion therapy with minors in some way. Some of these states have acted through executive order, but many of them have passed bipartisan legislation where both Democrats and Republicans voted to prohibit the harmful practice of conversion therapy. It's hard to be a kid right now. It is a tough world with social media, with all the pressures that are out there. Our children face more difficulty than most of us could have imagined when we were kids. This is not about red or blue. It is not about politics at all. And to me, it's not even about gender or sexuality. It's about protecting our youth from an inhumane practice that hurts them. As you know, I've advocated along the Fairness Campaign, the Kentucky Commission on Human Rights, and Lexington Fairness in support of legislation for years, and I will continue to push it. I still hope that we can get legislation passed by our General Assembly on this topic, but I'm not going to wait any longer. That's why today I'm proud to stand with all of you to sign an executive order officially banning the practice of conversion therapy on minors in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. The ban specifically prohibits the use of state and federal funds for the practice of conversion therapy on minors. My faith teaches me three really important things. First, that we are all children of God, every single one of us. Second, that we are to love our neighbors as ourselves. And third, that we are all each other's neighbors. Politics of fear and hate are wrong. Politics of compassion and love are right. Let me conclude by addressing the misinformation or recasting that some may try after today. Today's action does not force an ideology on anybody. It does not expose anyone to anything in a library or a school. It simply stops a so-called therapy that the medical community says is wrong and hurts our children. In a moment, we're going to sign this executive order. But first, I'd like to recognize some of the incredible individuals who have been fighting to make today happen long before I became governor and who battled tirelessly to ensure that every single Kentuckian is treated with dignity and respect, that everyone is seen and appreciated for who they are, and fighting for a Kentucky where everyone gets to be themselves every single day. First, I'd like to welcome Dr. Sheila Schuster of the Kentucky Mental Health Coalition. Take that, hon.
Good morning. I'm delighted to be here on this significant and happy occasion and to celebrate with other organizations and individuals who have joined in this fight over the years. Chris Hartman and Fairness, Tanner Mobley, who first organized the Banned Conversion Therapy Coalition, Eric Russ in the Kentucky Psychological Association, Brenda Rosen of NASW Kentucky, and especially to those brave survivors of conversion therapy like Zach Miners, who spoke out and shared their awful experiences to try to save others from suffering that same fate. I speak for the Kentucky Mental Health Coalition and its 80 organizations. The coalition is 42 years old, and we gather each General Assembly session with our priorities. For the past 8 years, the coalition has put a top priority on the legislation to ban conversion therapy, educating legislators and the public and advocating for its passage. We take that strong position because of the harm that conversion, quote, therapy, it's not therapy, it's conversion torture. That's what Senator Alice Forgy Kerr called it. What it does to victimize our youth. While we have not been successful in the legislature, it's not for lack of effort from our heroines and heroes. Representative Lisa Wilner, who has been the bill's primary sponsor in the House since 2019, often with Representative Kim Banta. Former Senator Alice Forgy Kerr, who sponsored the bill for 3 sessions in the Senate, often with Senator Morgan McGarvey, and those legislators on both sides of the aisle who have sponsored and supported these bills. And while we have been advocating in the General Assembly, we have also been worried about the youth across Kentucky who continue to be victimized and harmed by these awful negative attempts to persuade them that they are not who they feel they are. And now a new hero steps forward to do something about it, our governor, Andy Beshear. By issuing this executive order, Governor Beshear is putting the weight of the executive branch against conversion therapy and thus protecting our youth. By forbidding the use of state funds to agencies who would promote this practice and reminding the licensure boards of their obligation to protect Kentucky's youth by taking action against perpetrators of this psychological torture, Governor Beshear is taking strong action that affirms our youth and protects them from this harm. Governor Beshear, the Kentucky Mental Health Coalition applauds your action today to protect our youth, and we thank you for stepping forward and issuing your executive order.
Next up, I'd like to welcome Chris Hartman, Executive Director of the Fairness Campaign.
Friends, thank you so much. I'm on sabbatical, can't you tell? This is a great thing to come back to work for. We want to applaud Governor Beshear for his bold and necessary action today to protect Kentucky's LGBTQ youth from the harmful practice of conversion therapy. Today, with the stroke of his pen, Governor Beshear will save countless Kentucky kids' lives. Few practices destroy families and lives like so-called conversion therapy, what we've already heard former State Senator Alice Forgy-Kerr referred to as conversion torture. It's a debunked medical practice, not just snake oil, but snake venom, that every major medical and education association strongly opposes on minors. It lacks scientific credibility, it's unethical, and as we've already heard, it doubles the risk of self-harm and suicidality amongst those youth who have experienced it. And it's critical that Kentucky join the 23 other states and Washington, D.C. that have banned this deadly practice, because 21% of Kentucky's LGBTQ youth have been threatened with or subjected to conversion therapy, according to the Trevor Project's National Survey on LGBTQ mental health. Taking action to protect the mental health of our young people is a necessary and important part of observing Suicide Prevention Month this September. Major thanks again to Tanner Mobley at the Trevor Project, survivors who are in the room like Dustin Rayburn, Zach Miners, Brandon Long, folks like Senator-elect Keturah Herron, our only LGBTQ member of the state legislature who's in the room. Representative Lisa Wilner, who has carried the bill for so long, again, former Senator Alice Forgy-Kerr, former Representative Patty Minter, soon to be mayor of Bowling Green, Kentucky, and of course, former Representative Jim Wayne, who was the first to introduce a bill to ban conversion therapy, our incredible Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman, and of course, our incredible Governor Andy Beshear, who further cements his legacy as the most pro-fairness governor in Kentucky history and among the most pro-equality governors in the United States of America. Today, we all join Governor Beshear to send a crystal clear message to all of Kentucky's queer kids and their families. You are perfect as you are. Thank you.
Next up, we have Eric Russ, Executive Director of the Kentucky Psychological Association.
Thank you, Governor Beshear, for taking important action today to help protect our children from the harmful practice of so-called conversion therapy. I'm Dr. Eric Russ, Executive Director of the Kentucky Psychological Association. KPA members include over 1,000 psychology practitioners and trainees, and I'm grateful to be here today with such an outstanding group of folks who care about the mental health of children, including Chris Hartman, Sheila Schuster, Tanner Mobley, and Brenda Rosen. And I want to give a special thank you to my predecessor at KPA, Representative Lisa Wilner, for her work on this issue. I want to start my remarks today by acknowledging all of those who've been harmed by sexual orientation change efforts in psychotherapy. The harm you experienced came from an understanding of psychology and mental health treatment that was wrong. This included an understanding of sexual orientation diversity that stigmatized same gender and multiple gender orientations as unhealthy, and inaccurate claims that sexual attraction can be changed through psychotherapeutic treatment. It took the efforts of many survivors of conversion treatments, LGBTQ advocates, and allies to get the mental health community to take the science of sexual orientation seriously. We now have decades of research demonstrating harm of these practices and a deeper understanding of sexual orientation. We can now say with a clear scientific consensus across the American Psychological Association, along with every other major medical and mental health group, who all agree that the widely discredited practice of conversion therapy has no place in the mental health care of LGBTQ youth. We know that survivors of conversion therapy not only do not change their sexual orientation, but have worse mental health outcomes, including self-blame, guilt, shame, anxiety, depression, and as you've heard too often, these outcomes tragically include suicide attempts and dying by suicide. We also now have an emerging evidence base for a variety of individual and family-based treatments that include affirming care for sexual minority youth. These treatments reduce distress, improve mental health, and are not associated with the harms of conversion therapy. We know the best thing we can do as mental health providers is to affirm the identity of the kids in our care. When a kid walks into a licensed mental health professional's office with their family, we have an ethical obligation to provide them care that is supportive, evidence-based, and affirming to their sexual orientation identity. The executive order signed here today ensures that professionals who attempt to deliver unsupported, harmful care are appropriately sanctioned by their licensing board. When I work on mental health policy, I often think about what I would want my own kids to experience when they walk into a therapist's office. Today, I'm grateful they have this protection. Being here today makes me proud to be a psychologist, proud to be from Kentucky, and proud to be with all of you. On behalf of the Kentucky Psychological Association, thank you, Governor Beshear, for taking this important action to protect youth mental health in Kentucky.
Next, I'd like to invite Brenda Rosen, Executive Director of the Kentucky Chapter of the National Association of Social Workers.
Good morning, you all. What a day to be Kentucky proud. I went to sleep last night. I barely slept because it felt like Christmas Eve because I knew something amazing was going to be ready for all of us today. And Governor Beshear, I cannot thank you enough. We have stood in this rotunda for years as social workers celebrating advocacy and social justice, reproductive rights, gender rights, health care. And today, I get to stand here again in a place that has heard so many powerful voices over decades and centuries, and we are so proud to be here for this momentous, historical day. As the Executive Director of the National Association of Social Workers Kentucky Chapter, the largest social work association in the country, and on behalf of social workers across the state who are working to engage, educate, and empower our citizens of all ages to move forward, to power forward, to make sure that today, not just because it's September Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month, but that every day needs to be a new beginning. Every day is the first day of the rest of our lives. And thank you to Governor Beshear and all the amazing people up here, all of you today, everyone across Kentucky who believes that everyone deserves to celebrate in safety and love their authentic selves. It is an honor to stand up here. Again, today is the first day of the rest of our lives, and you all, I do encourage you. The wonderful Zach Miners has done the most amazing documentary called Conversion. In honor of today, I encourage everybody to watch that video and share it far and wide across Kentucky. Thank you.
Wow. 8 years, and we did it, y'all. As a proud queer man from Bullitt County, Kentucky, I stand here filled with hope and gratitude as our governor takes a powerful step to protect LGBT young people from conversion therapy, an abusive practice that has harmed too many of us for far too long. For the past 8 years, I fought alongside countless advocates to end the dangerous practice, and witnessing the executive order signed today it's profoundly meaningful. Conversion therapy doesn't just inflict emotional pain, it dramatically increases the risk of suicidality, as everyone's mentioned here today. And what makes this victory so remarkable is that it wasn't the work of one person or organization. It was truly the work of Kentuckians across this state who came together to fight for our young people across political divides from Pikeville to Paducah. This is grassroots advocacy at its finest. I especially want to shout out the survivors who are here today who poured their hearts out and shared stories that they shouldn't had to have shared publicly in order to change hearts and minds. So much of this work is possible because of you all. Thank you. I'd be remiss to highlight that in 2021, this issue had more Republican co-sponsors than any other pro-LGBT bill in this United States history. This work really, truly transcended partisan lines. And for anyone after this who says otherwise, that's simply not the case. It was truly a unified effort. As someone who now works for the Trevor Project, we hear from youth in crisis every day. Many expressing fears about the toxic political climate that we're in, who are hearing from their pastors and their teachers and people in their community that they don't belong and something is wrong with them. And they're paying attention. They're paying attention to the news and what's going on. And this executive order is a beacon of hope. To any young person who is watching right now, I need you to know that we are fighting for you. And I know it seems bleak right now, but the tide is turning and we're winning in states, even in states where people said it was unwinnable. It took 8 years, but we never gave up. To all of the organizers with BCTK and volunteers who are here today, thank you for believing in that determined kid in his early 20s who didn't have all the answers, but dared to dream big. Your trust and support has meant the world, and together we made this happen. Thank you to the governor for standing up to end conversion therapy and for showing LGBT young people that they're not just accepted, but celebrated in our Commonwealth for exactly who they are. Let this moment inspire us for fighting for a brighter future for all. Thank you.
To everybody who worked so hard to make today happen, this is your day. And to others who may watch in Kentucky, we don't do things that hurt people. It can be that simple. We try to do things to help people. And just remember, for decades, when practices are debunked by the medical community, we have prohibited them, rightfully so. So today, we're making sure that individuals, Kentucky citizens, are not subjected to a so-called therapy that we know causes extensive harm. We can't reach our full potential unless everyone is supported to be their true selves. And so from your governor and from your executive branch, we see you, we care about you, and now I'm going to sign an executive order ending conversion therapy in Kentucky. You ready?
This is a denial of affirmation therapy, affirming how God has
Thank you all very much. I'll take a few questions in a few minutes in front of the office. God bless y'all.